Hello there YouTube, it's me Suit America, and in this video I'll be talking about how to read your weapons and units. This is pretty straightforward in a way, but at the same time there are various things you need to pay attention to because they change a lot of the old things and they added a lot of new features here and there, especially when it comes to new type weapons. Now, understand that when it comes to me playing PSO2, it's been, I don't know, 5 years and I've seen a lot of changes, and to be honest, I want to complain about a lot of things, but at the same time, it's a game just progressing as it is, and they will always change certain things, so nothing is bound to stay the same, in a way. I mean, getting money still is through Cletho, and he's a freaking millionaire, but ignoring my little rants, if you want to play this game and give it a shot, you can find a video talking about how to install it and download it and etc. in the description or somewhere on the screen. Also know that in the description there's going to be a bunch of other videos talking about how to fix, how to get your 15 star, a bunch of new guides that I'm kind of redoing because, I'm getting back into the game and I'm trying to get into the swing of things as well. So, with that being said, this video is directed more towards new players and returning players, especially if they're coming back from their hiatus from episode 2 and 3. Understand that way back then in episode 2 and 3, we did not have new type weapons. They were not the fundamental things, or they were not the standard issued weapons we have. We have something called old type weapons, and they were a pain in the fucking ass to toy around with. Now understand that units are still the same, it's just that they added a little feature for the 12-star units, which I'll kind of explain in a bit. I don't have any rings within my 12-star units, but I will put them eventually once I level them up. So, when it comes to new type weapons, understand that new type weapons are going to be the standard weapon you want to try to get, especially if you're coming back into the game. Because they are stronger than the old type weapons, they're easier to grind than an old type weapon, and they have a lot more benefits compared to an old type weapon. And in terms of benefits, you can see it in ways of saving Meseta, upgrading them so you can get better versions or variants of the 13 star, or upgrading the 13 star to a 14 star, then to a 15 star. There's a lot of things, but you might be wondering, okay, how the heck can I read a new type weapon? And also, this is directed more towards new players as well because, you might not know the difference between old type and new type weapons. Especially if you decide to grind an old type Nox. You don't want that to happen. No, don't even try to upgrade an old type. So there are a couple differences to know if this is a new type or old type weapon. If it is a new type, there are several things you want to look for. If it has NT within its name, it is a new type. If it has a gauge, a grind experience gauge, that is also a new type. Some other things you do need to, I think those are the two main factors to it, looking at this. This is an old type weapon. Very old, and pretty much the potential isn't located next to the item description. As you can see here, here's the item description, and then you see the potential there. For the old types, the potential is also listed in the boxes with all your affixes. And other than that, I think that's it. So grind experience value, if it has NT in the name, and where the potential is located at if you unlocked it. So looking at my 15 star, I guess I can use this as an example. This is how you can break it down. So with this icon over here, this tells you that it's bound to the owner. So if you try to sell it, you can't really do it. You could most likely trash it, but you don't want to trash a 15 star. Right after that, you'll see the icon of what it looks like over here. You can see the item description right next to the box, and then you get to see the potential if you unlock it below the item description and next to the box. Below the potential is going to have the grind experience. This is going to be your grind bar as you upgrade a new type from 0 to whatever number you're trying to aim for. Know that when it comes to new type weapons, their max grind value is at plus 35. Old type grind value is at plus 10. However, technically you're plus 40ing it. And by that I mean you're plus 40th. Because the thing is, when it comes to old type weapons, you had to plus 10 it and then unlock the potential, and then plus 10 it again to unlock the second level potential, then plus 10 it again to get the last level 3 potential again, and then you plus 10 it again, and then you're done with it. You grind it fully to plus 40. But the problem with the O-type grinding is the fact that there is a chance of failure, and if you get to like plus 7, you can go back to plus 5, or worse, plus 4, or something horrendous. And that means you're going to be eating up a lot of materials, aka grinders or llama grinders, and you'll be using up a lot of Meseta just to try to get it to plus 10 at least once, and then you had to do it again, and then again, and then again. So, yeah, O-type grinding was very painful. But now we got new type grinding in, it cuts around a lot of corners, and there's no drawback to feeding your weapon. Once you feed it, there's no way it can go back down. So with that being said, below the grind experience bar is the rarity icon. You get to see a bunch of stars. The blue stars is level 1, 2, 3. Green stars is 4 to 6. Red stars is 6 to 9. Yellow stars is 10 to 12. And then the rainbow stars is either 13, 14, and 15. The next line below the rarity is the requirement. So to use this gun slash, you're gonna have to have a requirement of 440. The stuff in parentheses tells you your current stat of that particular stat you need. So right now I have 631 dexterity, excuse me. And then below that you'll see the S attack is 1690, the light, the weapon element, and then the weapon, the weapon grind value, which is currently right now for 13, 14, and 15 stars, 60 is the max. Everything else I think is at 50. Actually no, I think that's more towards like the 10, 11, and 12, they're at 50. I don't know much about the... I guess the same can be said with these as well. I don't have a lesser... I don't have a 4 to 6... I don't have a 1 through 6 star on me, so I can't tell you if they actually have an element, but yeah. Now there is a benefit to actually having a weapon that's weak to a certain... a weapon that's that can be useful against an enemy's weak attribute, along with having a certain grind value to it. But I'll have that information most likely in the description, redirecting you to someone else who can go into more details about that. And then below that you'll see all the abilities, aka affixes, on the weapon. Going to the next tab, you'll see that it states the required stat again. It needs 530 dexterity, currently I have 631. The line below that is actually important though. Understand that this tells you what class this weapon can support. Being a katana, obviously, is going to be supporting the braver main class, along with the bow. Bows will usually support bravers. Understand that knowing what the weapon can support in terms of classes will kind of give you an idea of what weapon you can use when you swap to a subclass. Understand that when it comes to a lot of 13 stars, 14 stars, and 15 stars, they only support at least 1 to 2 classes. Rifles, taluses, what other weapons? Swords, and some other ones I haven't listed do not support all the other classes. They will most likely support 1 or 2 classes. When it comes to gun slash, of course they get to support all classes, but the thing is, the reason why I'm bringing this point up is because if you are switching between your subclass and you want to play around with katanas, you might not be able to do so because the weapon you have, or your main weapon to go to, will not be able to support the class. And the thing is, if it doesn't support the class, you won't be able to equip it, like this weapon over here. As you can see, it only supports the hunter class. There are various ways around this, but it involves crafting, and also depends on the weapon, because there are some 13 star weapons that allow you to have a different class that's not the main class. For example, katanas and bows are usually for bravers, but there are some cases where katanas can be used on a techer or on a gunner or something odd. But once again, you can tell by looking at this second tab and looking at this line here. below that is going to show you the actual weapon stats. Understand that this is completely different from this number because of the fact that, wait, okay, no, scratch that. So apparently it takes account of whatever this thing is. So I was hoping that the number was its base S attack before this got applied to it. But yeah, it looks like it actually applied it to it, which is weird. But yeah, pretty much this tells you like how much S attack the weapon has, how many R attack it has, and T attack. And then you see the element and its grind value again. This is actually a new feature that I will have to cover in its own separate video because there are a lot of things that I need to kind of mention when it comes to these S1, S2, S3, S4 abilities. This is a new mechanic they added somewhere when I was in a hiatus slash not being when I was not playing PSO2. So pretty much these abilities will give you small little pots that can be very handy based on your play style. So I'm just going to briefly open up this stuff and you can see there's a shit ton of text there. And if you want to look at it, you can pause the video and find the names up on PSO2 affixing simulator or type it in on Google or whatever browser you have. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the grind value. This is also important because when it comes to grind value, the number within the parentheses will help you when it comes to plus 35ing your new type weapon. I will go a bit more into details about new type grinding, especially for a lot of new returning players, because most of the returning players, especially if they come from episode 3 or way back then in episode 2 or 1, when it comes to new type grinding, you can grind a weapon up to 30 at the very least, unless they have a different number in the parentheses. When you hit plus 30, and if you're stuck at plus 30, you will have to have multiple copies so you can get it to plus 35. When you hit plus 35, the new type weapon will might also have a special ability factor, which is a very handy perk which will give you 100% guaranteed of the special ability that it can offer. I'll go into a bit more details about this as well. Most likely I'll combine the special ability factors with the S1, S2, S3, S4 abilities. But yeah, so the reason why you want to know what is inside of the grind value is because this will determine how many copies you will need. Alright, I was going to explain how this is very handy, but I might as well show it because I actually have a couple dupes that I could demonstrate my point with. So understand that right now I am going to upgrade this plus 30 TMG to plus 35 for the max grind value by using this thing over here. It's the same TMG, it does not have any sort of grind value as you can see compared to this one, but it has a high max grind value of 34. Now you might be wondering, wait a second, won't it be at 34 morph? It should be, honestly, but at the same time, it's also adding itself, so you just kind of plus 1 with whatever number it is if you feed it to something. So technically, if I feed this TMG into this TMG, it's supposed to be 34, but because I'm also feeding a TMG in itself, that kind of adds 1, so it's 35. And if you don't believe me, we'll get a watch right now as I grind this to have a max grind value of plus 35. Understand that if you do feed another 13 star into another one, it's not going to give you a plus 35 status. It's going to level it up maybe once or twice, but then it's going to stop. And you can choose your poison. You can either talk to Monica or Dudu, but when it comes to new type grinding, it's not that bad. Old type grinding, god awful. Don't even try unless you're torturing yourself. So anyways, I decided to select my plus 30 TMG here. What you can do is select this, and as you can see, it doesn't even level it up plus 1. However, the only reason why I'm feeding it this TMG is so it can give me that max grind value so I don't really need to worry about it. But since I'm spending a decent amount of Meseta already, I might as well toss in a bunch of junk as well so I can try to get it to plus 31. Do I need these Noxes? Not really. Might as well feed them. I have a bunch of Noxes, don't worry about me wasting stuff. So when you decide to feed it, it's gonna bring up this screen. Once again, I'll make a separate video talking about new type grinding and showcasing all the good stuff and how to do X, Y, and Z. But anyways, let me feed it. As you can see, it went to plus 35. The max grind value is at plus 35 now. So that is why you want to pay attention to some of these numbers. You want to make sure that if it has a high grind value, you want to keep it and see if you can get at least one copy, and then you're good to go. And if that copy you have has a higher grind value as well, then it'll be easy to reach to plus 35. So if you had like a max grind value of like 32 and a 33 TMG, for example, then you can just feed it to each other. You can get plus 35 max grind value. You don't need to worry about having any more copies. But yeah, going back to this screen, max grind value, and then this is going to tell you how many materials you need so you can go to your next next level. As you can see over here, it's going to need 285, and I'll talk about grinding once again in its own separate video and some of the materials or some of the methods you may want to do. But the last tab when it comes to the weapons is going to talk about your affixes / abilities and your potential that you have on that weapon. It's going to show you the stat modifiers over here. It's going to tell you how much it's giving exactly. You can look at the exact details of the abilities by clicking on the name of it and then clicking it and then seeing what it says. And that's pretty much it when it comes to weapons. So pretty straightforward. And if you're wondering how you can equip a weapon, all you need to do is, well, I'm clicking on U, but or you can go over to your menu, then click on, I think it's the second one. Yeah, the second button over here, click on equip weapons, and then you can just click on this. Weird. Do you want to go to armor instead? I don't know if you can actually equip stuff here, because I'm very confused about it. What happens if I take you off? Weird. Yeah, for me, I'm using keyboard and mouse, and yeah, just click on U, and then it'll bring this up. And then you can drag your weapons over to the palettes over here. Customize all these other stuff as well. Anyways, let's talk about units. So, units kind of have the same format to weapons. So this will be slightly easier to talk about. Understand that the little icon over here means that it's color customized to whatever color you put it as. So right now it's purple. This unit is purple in a way. It still has the same icon. Well, understand that the blue icon like this means that it's untradeable. It's not locked to your ownership, but you can't really trade this. And then over here it has the item description, the rarity, the requirements for this. This is a stupid amount of dex by the way, so if you don't meet the requirements, do not feed your mag unnecessary points. Make sure that it's pure in a way. And you'll get there eventually. It's just that you need to level up your classes and stuff. And then it still has the same format as some other stuff. It does showcase the highest resistance, or it showcased one of them. It depends on if the percentages are all the same. As you can see, the light and dark are the same. I don't know why I just showcased the light. I'm guessing it's because it wants to. Yeah, I have no clue why it's showing the light resistance compared to both of them, but yeah, over here on the second tab, it gives you a further breakdown of how much S defense, R defense, T defense is giving, along with the element resist that it has, and then it can go into further details about X, Y, and Z. It tells you about the additional parameters, and then it's going to tell you about the grind value. Note that when it comes to units, they do not have a so-called new type version of it, so once you hit plus 10, you're good. It's just that when it comes to grinding units, it is the old type method still, so you might want to be careful as you progress to plus 10. There is a chance that it can backtrack and go to plus 5 or plus 4 once you hit plus 7 or something. And then the last tab talks about the abilities, same dealio. You can click on these abilities to see what it has to offer. You can stare at the stat modifiers over here. And that's pretty much it for this video, so pretty straightforward. Hopefully this video helps you guys out and gives you more of an insight towards new type weapon. Understand that old type weapons don't have some of this stuff that new type has. As you can see here, they don't even have a bar, they don't even have a grind value. Once again, old type grinding is completely goddamn different from new type. and yeah, and some other stuff. And when it comes to getting the element, well, actually it's still the same like the new types too. When it comes to increasing the element grind value, you need to feed it the same weapon of sorts. If it has the same element, it's gonna add whatever number it is. So for example, since I have, oh god, I don't actually have a copy of it. So let's say I have this Nox weapon, for example, and I have another Nox weapon that has like a 20 fire grind. Yeah, it has a 20 element grind value to it. And if I feed that Nox into this Nox, it's gonna go to plus 50. Now, if I have a Nox that is at a fire element of 30 like this one right here, but then I have a Nox that is a wind element that's at 20, most likely it's gonna give it a few points. I don't know how much, I can't remember exactly, but just be aware that when it comes to feeding weapons, you also want to make sure that you feed the right element so it can increase to 60 or whatever the max element value is. But for units you don't have that, you don't need to really worry about trying to get the stuff to increase. And yeah, once again, that's it for this video. So hopefully this helps you guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave it in the comments below. I'll try to help out as best as I can. If not, then I'll just redirect you guys to somewhere else. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys around. Peace.